Miss Charu Jain
Vent out your frustration to your PhD. Leave. You should go somewhere else. Go to.
I go again.
I have seen male low level and I've seen big fuck.
Hello everyone, welcome to Mind Over Mess, and today we are joined by a really incredible guest of ours, Miss Charu Jain. Hey, welcome to the show, Charu. How are you doing today?
Hi Shiva, I'm very good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great too. And by the way, my audience here would love to know that she is a protein scientist at Expression Biotechnologies and who have done a research from University of Copenhagen. And I want you to, Charu, you to introduce yourself a bit to our audience.
Hello everyone. My name is Charu, as Shiva introduced. I come from New Delhi, from India, and I came to Denmark in Copenhagen to do my PhD almost 5 years ago. And now I'm working as a protein scientist in a biotech company where we develop vaccines. And yeah, that's it.
Sounds interesting, developing vaccines. Would you like to tell more about your role as a protein scientist at Expression Biotechnologies? I would love to know.
Yeah, I mean, I was not aware of all these lingo that we use in industry because I've always been a student. I did my bachelor's and master's and PhD, so I was completely unaware, and I thought, okay, work is work. But when you're in a company, you know your roles, you know more about, you cannot just do research. Research has different aspects. Where do you're doing your research? Is it a cell work? Is it a protein work? Is it a purification? So my role in this company is a little bit everything. So I do research, I help in protein design, but I also work with cells, and then I also help in protein purification. Then also the other part where you communicate your science with not just scientists, but also with people to, communicate what you do and how it makes sense. So yeah, it's all aspects of doing research basically.
Sounds a little sophisticated to me because I'm currently doing my bachelor's. And one thing I would like to share you all that she is also from Delhi University. And as someone who's doing bachelor's from Delhi University, I mean, she's my senior. So I should call her now. Okay, so I would like to know more about your journey, Charu. Like from New Delhi to Denmark sounds really inspiring. And I want to know how you did it. Will you please share your tips and like what have happened exactly your journey, and like you're really interested about protein as such, or just come to on a way as so?
So actually, this path was never something I planned for myself. As most of us students in India, I aspired to become a doctor. I had PCMB in my 11th and 12th. And then somehow I didn't get through the medical college. And then I was like, okay, what are the options? Do I give one more year because I already had 1 year gap? Or I gave myself 1 more year to prepare for MBBS? And then I finally got admission in BSc Life Sciences. And then after BSc, I was like, okay, I cannot stop here because there is really no jobs after bachelor's. And I somehow also started to have more interest in biology and specifically like biochemistry. And then I did my master's in biochemistry from University of Hyderabad, because for me Delhi was a little bit overwhelming and this daily commute was really taking a toll on me and my body. So I moved to Hyderabad. I did my master's in biochemistry, and I loved biochemistry. And I knew I will not stop after master's. I have to go and finish this, what I've started. So I, of course, was aiming for PhD. And with the grace of all the great faculties I met in my master's degree, they wanted me to go out of India, which was never, my plan. And then I landed up a position in University of Copenhagen. And it was also not something that I had planned because I was only applying in German universities, because most of my professors who were writing recommendation letters for me or helping me through, PhD admissions, most of them had done their PhD in Germany. So I knew that I'm only going to focus. I never wanted to go to the US. So I was like, yeah, okay, German universities only. And then when I was applying for PhD applications, there was this one day that A University of Copenhagen PhD program just popped up in my notification. And then that was the only form that I had applied for PhD outside Germany. I had few offers from German universities, and then at the end, when I was filtering down, I ended up with two best offers. One from the KFZ, Germany, which is a German cancer research institute, and the other one was Novo Nordisk Foundation. And then I really just slept through it, like I don't want to take decision today. And that was around COVID time when I was applying. I woke up and my brother had done all the research, and he was like, Charu, everybody goes to Germany. You should go somewhere else. Go to Denmark. And he had done his research, and he was, he was ready for all the arguments that I had, and was like, no, nobody knows Denmark, at least not people around us. And it is considered to be one of the happiest countries in the world. And the University of Copenhagen has a very good reputation. And I think he would be happy there because he had seen me, stressed throughout my bachelor's and master's, and he really wanted me to be happy and not just pursue something because I wanted to pursue. Everybody knows it's a stressful commitment for 5 to 7 years. And then I was here. That's my journey basically from bachelor's to my PhD.
So I asked you about the changes you observed and was about to answer.
Yes, of course. Yes, there is a huge difference how classes are organized in Denmark, and what is it that is expected of you in terms of assignments and classes. Here, I feel it's more like critical thinking than ratifying the concepts. Nobody would ever doubt you that you know something, while in India, they test you if you know the full form of ATP, for example. And that's not very practical approach to teach.
It asked you about the differences you observed. I just want to know because you did bachelor's and master's here in India, then you a PhD in Germany. So is it really worth it here as compared to India if someone is doing PhD here in India? What's not a better option as compared to Germany or Denmark or somewhere else?
I don't think it's fair to say what's worth it, because I truly believe in the education in India. It's about the environment. And it's okay in bachelor's and master's because you are still studying, you have different subjects, you have lectures. But in PhD, it's already very difficult subject because you have a hypothesis and you're trying to prove it or disprove it in PhD. So it's already very difficult to do any of these, either prove your hypothesis or disprove it. But along with that stress, if you also have to stress about your group leader not being supportive of you, your group leader being very toxic as a person, your colleagues who you share the lab with, if they are not very friendly and kind, then this whole journey of PhD becomes really intolerable. So if you are lucky to land in a lab where the lab leader is really good, very supportive, kind, and also the colleagues, then I think it's worth doing PhD in India. We have great scientists, great institutions, and we also are now getting more funding, more timely fellowships. So of course, if I can do PhD in India. For me, it didn't work out where I started my PhD in India, and that's something that was just the luck. It's not that it happens all the time, but yes, there is a tendency most of the cases people are just not very kind. And in Denmark, I think since people are already very happy and content, or most of the time, they don't come to the lab and vent out their frustration from their personal life on you. So it's just the change and difference in the mindset that you don't owe them anybody. And in India, it feels like they already hate you sometimes. Like you have to prove yourself. And here you don't have to prove. You're here for a reason. You do your PhD and leave. So yeah, for me, it worked out pretty well. But I also know people who came to Denmark or Germany and then they struggle. So it's not fair to say that it's worth doing PhD outside India. It depends really which lab you end up with. And maybe you are lucky and you have great lab environment in India, and maybe you're unlucky and you go to the US and Denmark and you still, you know, end up in a very toxic lab. Yeah.
So it depends. That's what you're trying to say. May from person to person, we can say. I was thinking about
Person to person also love.
yeah, yeah, like obviously, and the point about proving yourself constantly here, it's actually really valid. Let me tell you this, but it happens even in the minor thing like a college society. You gotta prove yourself every single time. Now, as you mentioned, you are a protein scientist, and that is really interesting to me because I go to gym, I consume protein. That's the funny part, though. But I consume whey protein. So, can you tell me about the system or the culture in gym? The people consuming protein because they feel like that they lack it. Maybe, maybe not. What do you think as a protein scientist? What exactly, like in general way, so many people can understand it actually does to the body, and your role and your understanding of protein structures and everything in a general way. That's going to be challenging a little bit. Yeah.
I'm not a nutritionist. I'm only a protein scientist, so I cannot for sure if they're good or bad. But of course, it is recommended that you take your protein from real sources and not something that is extracted. And most of the time, it's not, we don't know what goes in that pack of whey protein, right? And a lot of times, there are also been cases where there was lots of sugar and lots of creatinine and other stuff that you might not know. You have no way, no tools to actually check what they are saying on the pack is actually true. And there has been cases in the past that, oh, we found out that that was not the case, it also had this and that. And the processing, I mean, it is processed, right? They take out, let's say for whey protein, right? Whatever the sources, there are vegan and non-vegan sources. Whatever the way they make proteins, of course, it needs to be stable because you can put the protein powder at room temperature. In the lab, we keep proteins in -80, -24 degrees, depending upon the proteins, right? So, of course, there are regulators that goes into it and preservatives, and I'm not sure how healthy those things are. So of course it's nice that you can take it, and I'm vegetarian, so I know, and I do take whey protein, right? But it should not be in amount that you just forget to eat protein from actual protein sources, and you start taking scoop of these 50 gram, 100 gram of protein. That's just not healthy. Anything in excess is basically harmful.
It's a perspective from a protein scientist. If you guys are really looking for it. So thank you so much for that. It's time for the AI question because I was literally thinking of it when I was looking at her profile and I'm like, okay, she's doing something with protein. And I was reading a research paper related to AI and LLM and how they are helping to find different types of protein and predict structures for them. I want to ask you this. Like, is it happening that AI or LLM can replace someone who is working with protein as a protein scientist? Or they're really just helping them to predict, to come up with better structures, better model, maybe hyper analyzing? What are your take on that? I want you to have a look at it.
I think it's something that everybody's thinking of, right? And everybody's talking about. And that's something very revolutionary, because if something that is being discussed, that's that's good. That's what we want, right? I don't think AI is here to replace people. I think we're not gonna be replaced by AI. I think I heard this, and I'm quoting that person, and he said, "We're not gonna be replaced by AI. We're gonna be replaced by people who know how to use AI." So if you know how to use AI for your benefit, you're not gonna be replaced, because anything that you do with the artificial intelligence, especially for research, and of course you can say, oh, this interactions that we see between two proteins, ligands, receptors, enzymes, substrate, whatever it is 99.999% confident. You still need to check it. You still need to investigate that hypothesis in the lab. AI is not gonna come in your lab. Of course, you can make robots, you can design and train your robots to do your things. But there will be always there will be a point where you need human intervention to either troubleshoot the experiment, analyze the data that you get. I don't think it's going to be fully AI that you design something, then you test it, then you analyze it, and then you also implement it. And all can be done without human intervention. And that's something I really feel. And I'm also trying to get my hands around now more AI tools to design protein. And it's here only to help us. Something that used to take us maybe a year to screen. For example, if we want to make a vaccine for some flu, and we were always thinking about this lead candidate, it was really difficult to come up with the lead candidate. And AI is here just to narrow down that list, that out of 300 or 400 hits, now you don't have to test all 300 in the lab. AI will help you to narrow down that list from 300 to 10, so that you only spend your resource and human labor and manual labor only on 10 hits and not 300. So I believe it's there to help you to do, to help you reduce your manual labor. And it's not going to replace you unless you also get familiarized with how to use AI.
So it's just about if you know how to use it well, you won't be replaced by something like it happened early in the past. People used to think that if computers will come, nobody will have to work. So I think when a new tool come in the market, it's always the fear, the hype, then understanding. And I think in the case of protein, it's also happening. I want to know about what the most critical skill as a human or as a molecular biologist or a protein scientist should have when they're thinking about challenges like AI or maybe the fear of being replaced as such. What this one critical skill that can make them irreplaceable in general.
I don't think it is limited to scientists that they need to have the skill. I think in general, any human being, because now every generation they deal with three other generation, your dad's parents generation, your grandparents generation, and then the upcoming generation, right? And if you're not open to changes, you're not gonna survive, you're not gonna have a good time. So I think the only skill that is important for human being, not just scientists, is to be open to changes and modify, you know evolve with the technology. Otherwise you're gonna be that old person in the post office who asks to fill the form, because there are also old people who are able to go to the post office and then fill their form themselves, because they challenge themselves with the changes in the technology, and they said no, we now we cannot just go and have a thumb stamp. We need to also start writing, and we also should know our name and what is needed to fill up a form. It's like if you're not evolving with new things, changes around you, you're not going to have a good time and you're going to suffer, be a scientist or not. That's just how it is. Like, I'm a scientist and I have my income tax return filing in India, and I had to literally learn that. And when you're in 11th or 12th class, you're like, oh, I'm going to take science, I don't need to know economics. But to be a human functional adult, I needed to know taxing. Or I also needed to know arts. I also needed to know the creativity, because now I know when I am making or designing proteins on AI tools, I also need to know the contrast. So there is an art as well. So even though I'm a science person from science background, I need to know economics, I need to know accounting, I need to know arts as well. So if I was not open to these things, I would always be dependent on a CA that I would pay, I don't know, so much, and I would not know what he has been doing with my income tax filing every year, right? So it's about getting, at least get your hands around stuff that you need to use. You don't have to be pro. Just a little bit, just know how to write a little bit.
Yeah, that's really insightful for me to understand. Because even in college, when we're learning few things apart from academics, a professor will be like, that's not from your syllabus, what are you learning? You should not learn financial literacy in general. But then we know that it's going to help later on. For example, my dad said, learn about stock market. It's fun for you if you want to invest later on. So It's just something I tend to learn and do things which are not in my academic sense. Okay, cute. So like to know about your perspective. Now, one thing, because see, I am wearing a pink t-shirt, a pink kind of shirt, and that indicates a symbol of feminism. I don't know, maybe feminine energy as such could be. I want to know about your the role and importance of women in STEM, and what you observe the trend in India versus Germany, or about being women in especially science background in STEM in general, and how they've been treated. I really want to know this.
That's a
And
very good question because in my bachelor's, we were more women than men. We were more females than males. In my master's also, we were more females than males. In my PhD, I think we had 50-50 ratio. And I actually saw something on LinkedIn yesterday that it is not really that it is going narrow. Right below when it is about leadership, the percentage drops. So it's like they're okay with women being in science, in bachelor's, in master's, in PhD, in maybe some also junior positions. But when it comes to the point where they are now ready to take actual leadership positions, actual group leadership positions, or CEO or CSO, making real change, having this high titles in a company, somehow the percentage drops quite significantly, and that says a lot. That you are allowed, but very selectively. And that's really sad because I have seen male people at CEO level making big fuck ups. So why not give a chance to also a woman who also did the same, exact same education, exact same trainings and struggles as you? I think there is something to it that no, they're emotional. They cannot make these big decisions. Yeah, because they're empathetic. They will not screw someone over, and they cannot sleep peacefully at night if they screw someone. So there's something to our hormones and the way we are built that we are not really trusted with tough decisions. And I'm not justifying why it is the way it is. I'm just saying it is sad and it should not be like this.
yeah, could be patriarchy. I don't know. I didn't say anything. What I was thinking about, like, if you talk about Finland in general, so their women are in leadership, and it's one of the happiest country. They even decrease, I think, the working hours or working days. I think 5 days a week or 4 days a week you have to work. Like, if I'm wrong. Uh, and then still people compare women in leadership. There, like, I think there was a prime minister, probably of Finland or somewhere else. Like, she was dancing, and the video went viral, even on LinkedIn. That how can someone be the president, can dance like that, and even she's a woman? How could she dance like that? And was kind of weird to think of like prime ministers are not like humans. I don't know. But I feel that way and I feel you too. And I hope this will change. We will change. Thank you so much for your time, Charu. And I'm really and thank you so much for being with us. And let me know if you have any questions and you want to ask or reach out to Charu Jain. I will give the link in description to her profile. If you just want to have any query, question, you can email her or you can just ask me. I'll forward it to her. Okay. So thank you so much for your time once again. And it's really nice talking to you. Thank you for your time, Charu.
Thank you, Shiva. Thanks for reaching out. And I love talking to you.